0.0001%
Right.
who is dominating everyone else, right?
Yeah.
And so I definitely feel your concern. But you see how it's like a mosaic. We live in our lanes. You had your individual experience. You found a beautiful solution that really worked for you. And that's where we need to go now, how this
Mhm.
impacted you, right? But it's all within this context of this broader culture and this broader society. And it's the broader society that's becoming the big impediment to how we
Mhm.
navigate. Because you found a solution and everyone should be able to benefit from that solution. But externalities in how the culture works is the biggest barrier to it. So I resonate with what you said.
Yeah.
To both your points, all boats aren't being lifted. Only the few boats are being lifted. Like to your point, the billionaires' boats are being lifted. Whenever we have an economic crisis, we seem to see another influx of 50 new billionaires in the world, or 100 new billionaires in the world. We go from 2,000 to 2,500 over past many financial crises. We've cumulatively grown to billionaires, right? And then there's the solution of never waste a good crisis. We've got this crazy ass president who may be the one that could be convinced if you go on a limb and improve psychedelics, you'll get a new level of support that could help you ultimately relieve you from the notion of prison after your presidency. Who knows what we could convince this guy of? But to your point, your mom essentially found a way to profiteer by bringing in the most troubled foster care children in the world. But let's take it down to the beginnings. The reason they're the most troubled kids is because they've been bounced around foster care home after foster care home. I've always
Mhm.
said after they've just been kicked to the curb one time after another, then they time out at 18, and then they're thrown into society with this minor per diem from the state to pay housing, to pay transportation. Generally, they got to have a roof over their head. So transportation means they don't have it, which means the nearest thing to their house is McDonald's, right? So that's where they're going to go to work. They're not going to go to work at a theme park that pays $4 more an hour because how the hell are they going to get there? Right. So I've always said, and these are all me just spitballing here. I've always said we should have a system in place where kids don't go to your mom's home. They go to a community college with housing and they have dorm parents where, because you're endangered by these kids, by these troubled kids. And it's
Yeah.
really, but somehow the system has prevailed. That's what the system is. Some volunteer mom is going to get a check from the state for bringing in 3 troubled kids. And it doesn't work. And then comes, so my question is, when you say the billionaires, are the billionaires the ones that are creating all these heinous programs to generate a giant petri dish for an underclass, for an abuse class, for a class that's going to work for peanuts, and then ultimately be bigger billionaires, be richer billionaires? And then comes the idea is, can we reverse this?
That's the big question, right? Can we reverse this? Because I absolutely do believe that they are intentionally creating this divide. They want uneducated people to be slave labor, basically. So, yeah, they are the ones who are benefiting from the system. So, they want the systems to stay in place. They have absolutely no incentive for the system to change. So, that's our big hurdle is how do we get these systems to change when we have no power? Like Kevin was saying, we do have power. We just haven't realized it. It amazes me when I post on social media about billionaires. It amazes me how many people defend them. I think the first thing that we need to overcome is the portion of the people like us who are still looking up to these people and wanting to be them. So, like I was saying before, in our previous conversation, the first step is changing the narrative, is changing the way the rest of us think so that we're not looking at them as heroes. We're looking at them that they have a mental illness, that they are not the definition of success. We need to change the definition of success and we need to define what enough is.
I could not agree with that more. That is, I mean, and so because it is at the narrative level. And so let's talk a moment about psychology and sociology in terms of culture, right? From the time, if you were born in the States, so I cannot speak to being born in Canada. Love them, cannot speak to that. That wasn't my experience. I was born in the States. But Coach, I believe you were born here in the
Yeah.
States too, right? Yeah, exactly. And so from the time we're born, what has been normalized, right, is a set of values, right? Independence, freedom, self-interest. And the self-interest is the pursuit of your own happiness, right? And competition. The manner by which you achieve success is by competing, right? And these core virtues, we're fed that from infancy, right? And then those virtues are reinforced with the narratives that explain what is going on in the world. All those narratives are framed in order to reinforce these core virtues. And so one of the offputs, and it's been a part of American tradition, is that what made America different than most other countries when it came to how we viewed wealth is it is an American tradition that we don't hate the wealthy. And the reason why is the economics that we practice offers all of us the opportunity to be wealthy. And so, and when the Horatio Alger tradition was actually true, and a person could be born in poverty, and just by working hard and innovating, they too could be wealthy, that was great. And that worked for decades. Okay. That time is over. The idea of social mobility is dead.
Yeah.
I'm not an advocate of it when it even worked. What I am an advocate of, what I am saying is the lingering normalcy of that is what you're running into, Diana. It has been a part. People who are steeped and identify themselves as Americans, part of what that means is that, yeah, we're not jealous or we don't hate, wealth. We would like to be
Right.
wealthy. And so
It's
therefore,
the American dream. Yeah.
it's the
Yeah.
American dream. We're more apt to defend them.
Yeah.
But how we break that narrative. So this is the psychology. This is the sociology. It is hardwired in us as Americans. And so how do you break that? And this is at the heart of my book, Onward at Last, the 2024 presidential election edition, is that, yes, we need a new narrative. And how we get there, and it's a hard thing. It's a hard thing, is that we need to show how these core virtues are no longer serving us. And so, and the method that I try to use, and I suggest you consider it too, Diana, when it comes to something that you identify with, that you hold dear, and now you're going to challenge it, you can't externally change that because a person is saying now you're talking about me. If you say freedom is not good, then I'm not good. If you say competition is not good, then I'm not good. And you know what? F you. This is the kind of stuff okay.
Yeah.
So what I try to do is, as opposed to coming at them saying that, hey, I know something you don't know, I've experienced something you haven't experienced, why don't you check out this new thing? I say, okay, let's look at our shared experience. Let's look at your own experience. And here's some new information, like what psychedelic therapy did for you. It's new information to them, okay? But if you could direct them to their own experiences that you've had too, right? And show how those virtues are not serving them now. So they have the new information. As long as they can learn to verify the information is accurate, right? Now they can just look at what does this mean about my own lived experience? Is it true that those virtues still apply? That independence is really a virtue or whatever. And if it's not, then it's them coming to their own conclusion that, you know what, that didn't serve me. That wasn't true. This new information has shown me that I'm not being served, that the reason why life is harder and harder today is because those billionaires are exercising their freedom. And that the problem is I'm losing. Right? We're all losing, right? So at what point do you say enough is enough, right? Because guess what, right? We can't have the basic things we need to survive anymore. This is where you get to the point where now does capitalism even work, right? If you could work hard every day and you're worrying about keeping your lights on, you can't get therapies that actually would help you because these people are taking all the resources and they can't even use all the resources. This is the kind of stuff because it draws on their personal experience and you can use their own resonance. What resonates to you? Yeah, I know you believe that and you live this way. This is how I'm finding it's a hard lift. This is how I'm finding because unfortunately it's rooted in our culture, and so that's why we have
It's
to.
the patriarchy. Like
It's a
everything that you said, like competition, freedom, like all these things, that is the patriarchy. And I don't think that people really understand that that is the system that is keeping us down, and that matriarchy is not the opposite of patriarchy. I think a lot of men are afraid that if the matriarchy rises, that they're going to be treated the way that they've always treated women. So they're afraid of that, which is very telling about how society is run.
Yes.
But the matriarchy is not the opposite. The matriarchy puts collaboration at the middle instead of competition, and it puts children's futures at the, that's what's most important, is keeping the children safe, keeping the children's future intact. And the matriarchy is a circle, it's not a pyramid. So the patriarchy is a pyramid. That's why we're seeing the concentration of wealth at the top. The matriarchy is a circle where everyone benefits. It's not something to be afraid of.
So to that point, and when you talk about the circle where everybody benefits, to be essentially or inadvertently the devil's advocate, I've never been an overachiever. I've never been athletic. I'm smart. And it's funny how I got smart because we were talking about that before the podcast, but I'll get into that later. But I've always come up with the theory, if you can't beat them, if you can't compete with them, join them. So investing in billionaires, because we're using billionaires as the operative term, investing in billionaires might have put me in a better position to face the challenge of putting 2 kids through college in the next couple of years. So I don't really have an issue with them. Like when I was a kid, I met a guy, he owned a General Rental, it was a rental store. He told me, I was doing a service for him, stripping a wax, and this voice gave me $500 cash and said, you need to invest this in Home Depot stock. Had no idea how to buy Home Depot stock, so I just blew it on stuff like psychedelics and other things. But it was great advice. Now, do I have an issue with Bernie Marcus becoming a billionaire from starting Home Depot? No, I really think, I wish I would have knew what the hell the guy was talking about. And I always got to know his name was Dick. And I always wondered, how did his parents know him so well to name him that? Because he was such an idiot. But, and that was the thing that didn't sit with me well either, is him giving me the recommendation. But the fact of the matter is, like I use the example, and somebody I study all the time is Warren Buffett. His chief stock picker is named Todd Combs. Todd Combs turned a $70,000 IRA into a $260 million personal wealth. How do you do that? And then is that capitulation? Is that a form of capitulation? You're saying I'm okay with billionaires because they just want to be 10% of their wealth. Or is there some issue with that thinking?
Oh, from my point of view, Coach, again, that aligns with our culture and our tradition, right? But if yes, you look at your situation, you're not worrying about keeping your lights on. You're really not, right? And so, therefore, you're not trying to take anything from anyone else. You're doing well. You're doing well enough, right? Okay. The fact is, most people are not. And the reason why most people are not is one, and this is obvious, we live in a finite resource world. There's not an unlimited amount of food in America. There's not an unlimited amount of housing in America. There's not an unlimited amount of everything that we need in America, right? And so when you have a limited amount, a finite amount, and some people take so much and they're not even using it. So we joke about Jay Leno and the 200 cars in his extended garage. Okay, do you know how many working people in this country could be so much more productive, could take that job further out if they had a working car? We are glorifying a level of gluttony that is necessarily causing the scarcity that most people live. So the issue with the billionaire is, right, is first and foremost, why do you need all that? I mean, seriously, I mean, if we were sitting around a table, this is the person who wants to take 2/3 of the food around the table and leave most of the people around the table with almost nothing to eat. And then because they're being nice, they throw us a biscuit. And now we want to applaud. Isn't that generous of them? They threw us a biscuit. No. How about taking what you can use? How about that? Then you could live a fabulous life based on what you could actually use and leave all those excess tens of billions of dollars of excess resource that you are claiming, that you are controlling, that would transform the lives of so many other people. This is the problem with the billionaire. is that
Mhm.
there is no ethical, moral justification for that level of gluttony.